Hello and welcome back to my channel and to another book haul. I think it was around March or April I last did a book haul, so I've acquired so many books since then, and I feel like I'm just going to do book hauls about like 4 times a year, basically once every season. This is going to be my summer book haul, even though there is a lot of like horror books in this, but it was just Summerween, which if you don't know is like a week-long readathon during the summer where basically people just read horror books. So that's the kind of vibe I'm continuing on throughout the rest of the summer. But anyways, I'm just going to get right into this because I have so many books to haul. First is The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. And honestly, I don't know much about this one. I just know it is a high fantasy. This is the Illumicrate edition, which is so pretty. Everyone is raving about this, and I've not seen a single bad review. Everyone's just obsessed with it, and it's such a chunky book. Like, I think it's close to 600, 700 pages. But I'm just so excited for this because of the reviews. And I just feel like there's just not that many new releases these days that everyone seems to be loving. It seems to be like mixed reviews or pretty bad reviews. But everyone who I trust or has the same reading taste as me seems to love this. So I think I'm going to love it too. I didn't see in one of my latest vlogs. I went book shopping in Glasgow with my friend Kaylin and I got like 3 books that day. And one of them was Kingdom of Claw by Demi Winters. This is a sequel to The Road of Bones, which I haven't read yet, but the only reason I picked this up, I don't normally pick up sequels before I read the first book, but this was reduced to £1. That's insane. £1 for a hardback that was initially £22. So I was like, even if I read the first book and don't like it and don't want to read the second one, I'm barely losing any money. That's £1. Whereas if I did read it and loved it and wanted to read the sequel and then I had to pay £22 because this one was gone, that would be a tragedy. So yeah, all I know about it is it's a romantasy duology. I think the main character kind of gets lost while she's on the run and then runs into these Vikings who kind of take her in, and then there's some sort of romance between her and one of the Vikings. The sequel has like a completely different character in the cover, so I don't know if it follows the same main character and it might like follow a side character. But either way, the reviews are pretty good for this series, so I'm really excited, and also they're chunky books as well, which kind of gives me hope for Romantasy. Hopefully it means it's not underdeveloped like a lot of the ones I've been reading. Another book I got on that book shopping day in Glasgow is The Life Cycle of a Moth, and this has like a really similar sounding plot to another book I'm actually going to haul in a minute. But basically it follows like a mother and daughter who live remotely in the woods, and I think it's supposed to be a horror book, but also like kind of like literary fiction, and this one has really amazing reviews as well, so I'm really excited for this. This is kind of what I'm in the mood for. I feel like this sounds like a perfect summer read, so maybe on like a nicer day where I can read outside, this would be quite a good one to read because it sounds very like nature focused, and yeah, that's perfect for the summer. I also got Buffalo Hunter Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones, and this is an author I've been wanting to try for a while. I know he writes a lot of like horror books, and this one is also horror. I think it's vampires. I've heard mixed reviews about his writing style. Apparently it's like really jarring and like difficult to get used to, but I've heard that once you get used to it, like his stories are really good. So I thought I'd start with his latest release. All I know that this follows like a woman who is studying to do her thesis and she can't figure out what to write it on, and then she stumbles upon her like grandfather's old journal. Basically it's kind of documenting this massacre that happened like years and years ago that kind of no one knew happened or knew the circumstances around it, and basically this journal is kind of unraveling things and the truth about what happened. So she basically uses that to write her thesis. Yeah, I know it has vampires, so we'll see how that mixes into the rest of the plotline. I also got the newest V.E. Schwab book, Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil. This is a Fairy Loot edition, which I love in comparison to the original cover. Like, I just don't like the original, so I'm happy I got this edition. This is a historical fantasy and it follows like 3 different timelines for 3 different women. One in the 1500s, and then one in the 1900s, and then one in modern day, or like 2019. And I think they're all either vampires themselves or related to vampires in some way. So I think this is kind of like a gothic horror book as well. So I'm definitely feeling some kind of way this summer that these are all the books I'm wanting to read. But I'm so excited for this. Apparently it's like a slower paced book, but I'm hoping that the writing style and the characters are so good that I don't really mind the slower pace, because sometimes that can like make things better. So hopefully that's one of those books. I also got the Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies trilogy, but the Illumicrate editions I already own like some of these books I have more than one copy of, but these editions were just so stunning I couldn't pass up. They have like completely redesigned covers, they have sprayed edges, they have artwork under the cover. It's just so stunning. Like, I am just in love with these editions, and it was well worth the money, to be honest. I need to reread this series because it's one of my favourite series of the year so far. And I'd love to read these editions specifically so I can kind of like look at the artwork while I'm reading it. I feel like it would really add to the story. Another two books I got that are also stunning are Wildwood Dancing and I think it's Kibele's Secret. Yeah, Kibele. There's a pronunciation guide at the start of the book. I thought it was Sybil's Secret, but that's not how it's pronounced. These are also the most stunning books I own. Like that cover, I wish they still made covers like this. Like these are from 2005, I think. And I feel like they just don't make covers this detailed anymore. This is a fantasy duology by the same author's Daughter of the Forest, which is one of my new favourite books of all time. But the first one, they're like companion novels, so they're not like exactly directly related to each other. The first one follows the main character Gina, and she has like four sisters, and they basically every full moon cross into the Fae realm, and basically kind of follows the consequences of that. They have this cousin who is like has a vengeance against the Fae because he blames them for the death of his brother. So there's just a lot of drama around that. And then the sequel follows one of the other sisters, so Gina's little sister Paula, but it's like completely different. It's actually set in Istanbul because she follows her dad out there because he wants to bid on this magical artifact. I've read Wildwood Dancing and I'm in the middle of Kibele's Secret, but honestly I'm not loving it as much as Wildwood Dancing. The first one was 5 stars. This one's reading more like a 3. It kind of feels like an unnecessary sequel. It's just so different in vibe and tone. It really doesn't feel like the same series, but I'm going to push through because I'm not disliking it. It's just not comparable to the first one. And speaking of Juliet Morelli, I have Son of the Shadows as well, which is a sequel to Daughter of the Forest. And I've also read this. It's not as good as Daughter of the Forest. I feel basically the same way with Kibele's Secret, where overall it's still good, but just not comparable to the first one. I think I like this better than Kibele's Secret as a sequel, but it does feel very much like a middle book because technically this series has 6 books, but it was initially written as a trilogy. So this would be the second book in a trilogy, and I did feel like it kind of had like second book syndrome. I still need to read the third book, so that is definitely, I don't even have it yet. I need to buy it, but that's definitely like next on the priority list for this author's books. I also got The Lamb by Lucy Rose, and this is the book I was talking about that's similar to Life Cycle of a Moth, where this one also follows a mother and daughter living remotely in the woods, but this time round they are cannibals. Yeah, this book was crazy. Like the way cannibalism was written was so graphic and detailed, but like so beautiful at the same time, which is really odd to say, but the author managed to do it. Like her writing was just so like I can't even describe it. The first page had me hooked. Like it's just so disturbing. It's such a fast-paced book as well, and I just fell in love with this. I actually had it in my Kindle first, and then I had to go and buy my own copy literally as soon as I put the book down. Yeah, this is definitely 5 stars, and I'm going to be looking out for any more books this author writes. Final book I got on that day trip to Glasgow I had just the other day is The Starving Saints, and honestly I don't know much about this. I know it's like a medieval fantasy horror about a castle that's under siege, and we get lots of different point of views from like the people in the castle, but I also know it's supposed to be really confusing, and I don't know if it's like necessarily a linear storyline that it follows. It might be a bit all over the place, but all I know is you're supposed to be confused. So we'll see how that goes. I've heard mixed reviews, but I wanted to try it out for myself, and also I think the cover just looks really interesting. So yeah, I'll let you know what I think when I finally read it. And then the final 2 books I actually got on my trip to Norway, which I also have a vlog for. I went book shopping while I was there, and I got The Devils by Joe Abercrombie, and I know this is a fantasy, historical, little bit of horror as well. I know it's set like during a plague. I don't think it's set during the plague, but a plague. And it follows like lots of different characters from different backgrounds who have to come together for like a common goal. And yeah, I've never read any of this author's books before, but I thought I'd just start with his most recent release. And I've heard good reviews as well, so hopefully I like this. And I've heard it's really funny as well, so we'll see. And the other book I got in Norway was Grave Empire, and I think this sounds just like really similar. Like it's historical fantasy, like epic fantasy, has a bit of humour, but like really dark as well. I've heard people say this one's like really quite scary, and they weren't expecting it to be. So I kind of like the sound of that. It sounds really interesting and a bit unique. So yeah, I've just been in a spooky mood recently. I don't know why. But yeah, this one also has really good reviews. I've never read a book by this author before. I know he has another series, and it's like partially connected to this one, but I pretty sure you can read this one on its own, so hopefully I'm okay with this one as well. But yeah, that is all the books I've bought basically since April, I think. I will probably buy more, but I will hold off hauling them till around autumn time, and I'll do an autumn book haul. And that was my summer book haul. Let me know if you've read any of these books or have heard of them or want to read them. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.